Welcome to what is being reimagined as Transformation Talks. We used to do mind management on Wednesdays, but we are the transformation team based here in East Cleveland, but we are worldwide. We just left a conference in Jacksonville where we were talking about reentry and the challenges to that.
Yes.
So today, we're not going to hold you long. These are going to be very short vlogs or talks or whatever you want to call them. But the whole point is that we just want to get more information out. Of course, we want you to follow us. So if you see your TikTok handle is
I am Tierra Banks.
I am Tierra Banks. So you can follow Mrs. Banks, who's part of the transformation team here. You're already looking at Judge Dawson. Follow us on all our platforms. It's I am Tierra Banks and at Judge Dawson, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and we are going to also broadcast on YouTube. All right. So today we're talking about transformation. And Mrs. Banks, I know that I deal with it from the judge's standpoint, and then we pass it off to you, and you have this other expertise in your coaching, mother-daughter and family coaching, relationship coaching, basically. Um, we talked about part of being in the midst of transformation for any of us, for whatever we're going through, is that we need to have allies.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by having allies?
Well, I think it's very important for a person to be able to identify their allies. Like I know when I'm working with people who are in different transitions in their life, it can seem like they don't have um, any support. Like oftentimes when we see the people, they feel like their families have left them, their friends are gone. But I do challenge them to just be able to identify the people that they do have, whether they're strangers, whether they're the people that have been mandated to be on their team. Maybe it's a counselor, maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a next door neighbor, but you do need to be able to identify those people.
So our question for you to think about today is, in your pursuit of success or trying to transform your life or trying to get out of this legal system, who are your allies? And I'll be quick to admit to you. I guess we're holding the phone too, so we can see what some of the comments are. But I'll be quick to admit that in this position as judge, sometimes I wonder who my allies are. I mean, it's interesting because us judges, we have associations and we have meetings and we all get together and go, woe is me, meaning we don't have anyone to talk to. And, people either call us for, a favor or something like that. But who are your true allies? And what should you look for in an ally when you're trying to transform your life?
I'm glad that you said that, Judge, because the ally is going to be somebody who is going to help stabilize you. Like they should be able to, maybe they help you regulate yourself emotionally. Maybe they are supportive. Like if you're in a transition with your housing, maybe this is somebody who says you can't live here, but you can come and sleep on my couch, or you can't live here, but you can use my address as a mailing address. Or an ally could be somebody that you can go to for advice. Like they're going to give you unbiased advice. They're not going to just be your yes man. Like they're going to, for the sake of our cultural term, they're going to be a ride or die, and it might not look like the support that you want to, because rarely are the allies the people who we think should be there for us, but we do have them. We have to be able to look for
Yeah,
them.
she made that point the other day, how oftentimes we get so in our heads, we're like, nobody cares, I can't talk to anybody, but there may be an ally. But I'll tell you this, I'm a man of self-resource, self mastery. If you don't have an actual ally, you have two allies. For me, it's my mom in heaven, and then two is Jesus Christ. To be honest with you,
Absolutely.
and sometimes I know, for us who are believers, that could be an empowering statement, but it also can be lonely, right?
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, everyone says you have Jesus, which you do, but Jesus is not right there immediately.
Yeah, he's
right
not he's not tangible. Like, like it is, he's not tangible. But then we have to challenge ourselves as believers, because the people here on earth are his hands and feet. Like,
right.
so he put us here to be able to be dependent on one another, and connected to one another. So the allies that are here are sent from him. Accept them. Okay. Right.
So we're going to answer a question from Davis, Jerica Davis. What do you say for someone that's been trying to change in child support, but child support keeps knocking them back? So I don't know. I'm going to try to figure out exactly what you mean by that. But let me tell you something. I'm going to show you. But here's the thing about child support. So child support is interesting because it's just like anything else dealing with this legal system. It could be a burden. It could be a mental burden. It could be obviously a financial burden, and it could derail you from trying to transform. You know,
Yeah.
you're trying to be a better person. You're trying to think better. You're trying to, you know, act better. But then you have this burden of child support, and you have someone who is either not paying, or maybe you're paying and you feel like it's draining you. The key is, for me, is that we have to accept the reality that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a Stoic saying that says something to the effect of, you know, accept your fate, or, you know, die by your fate, or something like that. I'm not going that far, but what I do want to say is you have to at least accept your reality in order to change it, right? We're talking about transforming. So maybe your reality right now is, I'm dealing with a child support system that is unfair. But guess what? That gives you the ability to make better decisions going on forward, or you can maybe minister or advise someone else who's going through it, so that they don't lose their mind while going through it. So we have to deal with our reality and find a way to transform in the midst of that reality. So hopefully that answered your question. Were there any other questions? I see you doing the new style where
just holding it. Yes.
You know who I first saw do that?
Can I call y'all for advice?
Well, you can ask advice right here.
That was Jerica.
Okay.
Anyone help me?
I noticed my friend Edith does that with her video.
Oh, really?
She holds the mic.
Because it's just it's never a good place to put on our shirt.
Okay, maybe that's
what would you say to someone that's been trying to? Oh, okay, that is the one. And no, I don't think I see.
Okay, so basically what we're going to do, every Wednesday we're going to come on. We will have a topic that we'll talk about, because we are that man's a clown. Yeah. And yeah, so you got to get used to these crazy comments. So we'll have a topic that we'll talk about, but at the same time, we want to open up the floor where we can give you advice, not necessarily on your legal case. And what I mean by that, I tell people all the time, you don't want to go to your court, to your judge, and say, a judge on TikTok told me this.
Right.
So that's why I don't give out legal advice. But we do want to help you with your transformation. So we have about 5 more minutes. Oh, somebody said connect to your bow tie. Oh, so you can hear me better. So you can't hear me better? Or maybe I should do this whole thing right here. Someone said, come to Delaware. The child support is ridiculous. Okay, so you're a man who has the kids and the mom is not paying anything. Yeah, that's interesting. Hello, in Mexico. Yeah, that's interesting, because you know, the system can work backwards and bad for either party.
Yeah. I know, even at the you know, the individual I was sitting with earlier, you know, was just sharing, like, they're up against systems, right? Like, they're fighting for.
What did you do when you were dealing with child support system?
Oh, I've never had that experience.
That's not, she doesn't have that experience. But you're right. We talk about how the systems can be stacked against you. Because we talk about that when we talk about cycle load.
Absolutely.
And the clients that we
absolutely see. And we realize that even as a court, like, we, you know, we take that into consideration, because we know that, you know, the individuals that we're helping.
All right. So look, I see Dee wanted to make sure that everyone knows that Jesus loves Trump. That was Dee's. They put that.
Well,
there.
Jesus loves everyone.
Jesus,
whether
loves
or not
everyone
loves Jesus.
That's
Jesus
right.
Loves everyone.
And also, the question is, even though Jesus loves us, are we still representing him at all in anything that we do? And you don't have to be perfect, but I don't know. The person you just talked about is
No, you're not.
All right. So, do you, Miss Libra, are you friends with Mrs. Banks?
Miss Libra.
Just a Libra, because you know she's showing some good support on
here.
How much can Tennessee take from my SSI check? So basically, all the states under federal law only have so much that they can take, that anyone can take. It's based on your level of financial position, right? I don't want to say the poverty level, because you know, poverty can be defined in many ways. It's not just financial. Most times it's mental, right? So I don't even want to label you as in that situation. It's more so they'll figure out what you are making according to the standard in this country. And child support, garnishments, they can only take a certain amount, so they can't take everything you have. What's the best advice for someone trying to pursue a career in law or law enforcement? Honestly, I would say be willing to learn from anybody that you can. You know, apply for internships, even if they don't pay. I know that's a bad word to say nowadays, but that's the way that you'll get more experience. Also be fair.
Be fair. And what about keep your record clean?
Wow.
Keep your record clean. And if you have made a mistake in the past, try your best to clear your record as much as you can.
There is a statistic that says, I believe, what is it, when we were in at conference. One
One
in
in,
three people
yeah.
have felonies,
No,
and
yeah, 1 in 4 people have.
okay, so it's either 1 in 4 people have a record,
Yeah.
or 1 in 3 people have a family member
Yes.
who is dealing with the legal system
Yes.
some way.
Yes.
So with that being said, when we say try to keep your record clean, you know,
We know.
that's the truth.
Right.
And what we often say is begin with the end in mind. The fact that you know you may want to go into law enforcement or law, that gives you that energy to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you know,
I'm not gonna do that if I.
right. I just wrote an ebook. If you go to my website, judgedawson.com, the ebook is called "I Wouldn't Do That If I Were You." Check that out, because that's going to give us ways to definitely be more intentional about how we live. All right, let me see. Someone said it's impossible there. Someone said they may need therapy after every shift. So shift and transformation.
Oh, that's a great idea.
What do you think about that?
You should. I love that conversation about therapy at every turn, every transition, because you are, evolving into a different person, a different version of yourself, and we all know that there's a process to that.
So let me be transparent with you all. You're talking with a budding therapist, future, transforming, changing lives, therapy, healing, all that stuff, and you're dealing with a reluctant therapy acceptor. Maybe is that that fully expressed where I am. It's like I respect it, and now I'm coming around to understanding the need, especially for men, to have therapy. I'm still my own therapist right now.
Yes, but he's coming around to the idea that we need somebody to talk to, like we do.
Yes.
Yes.
So I agree. Everyone needs someone to talk to, and therapists aren't perfect. So you just need someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
That won't judge you, and that's in the mental space to give you the best guidance that they know how to give. That's what I would say when you're looking for a therapist.
Yes, and also a person that's going to be able to take you from one place to another, and not take you as in force you, but help guide you along to your next. Like, you don't want anybody that's keeping you in the loop of the transition. Like, you want to be able to move forward.
Now, keep in mind, we're talking about transformation today. Yeah. Someone made a good comment here. They said some of the therapists have personal problems that they bring to work.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about that?
Absolutely, because therapists aren't exempt, though, therapists should be good practitioners with boundaries. We should be able to live by example in that regard, but not everybody have, that self-control. But just like everybody else, they are people that should leave their personal problems and their personal lives before they come to the therapy table, and that's not always the case.
Now, speaking of therapy, I think this is a form of therapy, but so we're going back and forth. Someone asked on a traffic ticket, is there a statute of limitations on traffic? No, because basically what happens is if you get a ticket, you normally have a court date. And if you miss that court date, that case will last until you make it to court, whether it's 5 years from now
25.
or 50 years. Right? So there is no
see it all the time.
Someone said, I'm also dealing with harassment right now. My ex-friend and her mom has been calling me names. Let me tell you, so interesting about harassment. We have about 4 minutes to go. And remember, every Wednesday now, you can kind of count on us to come on. Of course, we're here in a real court, right? So our goal is to come on about 11:15 at the latest, and we'll give you our Wednesdays to help inspire and transform our community. But I do want to mention this. There was a case that's pending, so I'm not going to talk in detail. But speaking of harassment, it's a domestic violence case. And what we're learning is that the male maybe allegedly assaulted the woman. And they're both young. But the male's mother has been trying to convince the young lady not to press charges. So much so that I was informed that they were actually in the hallways the other day.
Oh, wow.
Bailiff Sanders heard them, and it was the mom with the girl saying she doesn't want to press charges. So harassment from family members and family members of your intimate partner, it's real. That's real.
It is.
How do you deal with that heavy weight of harassment when you care about somebody and now you have their family member harassing you, calling you names, or telling you what you should do? What advice would you give them? What advice would you give your daughter if she was involved with someone, something happened, but then you have the other parties parents pressuring her or talking to her about it? I think you've experienced something like that.
Yes, I don't know. I don't want you to go to
Right.
the mama hat
Right.
because
I'm not gonna do that.
professionally, like I don't know that I was able to do
But
what I would
see,
do
that's what
professionally.
transformation is about. We
Absolutely.
should be able to do professionally what we do
Yes,
personally.
but
We have to
you just
cross that
exposed
bridge.
my humanity
Okay.
when I was dealing with my daughter. But I think if I had to advise a resident or someone in the public, I would tell them to make a paper trail. I would tell them to yes, I would tell them to make a police report, but I will also encourage them to not be so moved by words, because I know a lot of times what we see is people are moved by a lot of verbal harassment, and those things are like, how can we eliminate it? Sometimes we maybe you got to block this person. Like sometimes we want to entertain it, but then we want to say it's harassment. What would you say? What would you
So
add?
I'll admit to being transparent as a judge. I've had the times where I've had to make sure that I'm trying to practice the ability to live out this cycle breaker life.
Yes.
So, for instance,
Yes.
I'll see cases in front of me, and I would say, "Man, if that was my daughter, I don't know what I'd do."
Right.
Yet I'm telling somebody in front of
Right.
me,
Right.
"You
So what
should
to
do
do
X,
with their
Y, and
daughter?
Z."
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we have to try to live this transformation. So let me tell you this in closing, because
Mhm.
we could be on here forever. We're going to come on every Wednesday, but we want to be your source of transformation. Why do we have that ability? I'm a judge. She's a life coach. She's a chief probation officer. So if we know about derailing your life and trying to build it back up, we are two people who know about it. So we'll be on every Wednesday, but you can follow us on our social media platforms. Yours is?
I am Tierra Banks.
And I'm at Judge Dawson. I have a new ebook on my website. I wouldn't do that if I were you. It's at judgedawson.com. And guess what? Mrs. Banks is working on something. What are you working on? It's going to be done pretty soon.
I'm working on my Mended Women workbook that will accompany the work that we're doing to mend the women here.
Okay, so stay tuned. There's going to be a workbook available to you very shortly that will not only help you mend your family, but mend you as a woman.
Absolutely.
So it'll be directed at the women, but I'll say, look, if you're a man and you're watching this, buy it for a woman that you care about, or maybe you should read it so we can become more sensitive to what these ladies are going through when they're trying to transform their lives.
Absolutely.
So, anything you want to say in closing?
No. Well, you did have a comment that said, what about harassment from cops? And I think you should address it.
Harassment from cops, from police officers. If you are being harassed by a police officer, don't react on the street, but instead come and talk to their supervisor or internal affairs. Internal affairs is supposed to be a place you can go to that is not biased. They don't care about the police relationship. They are there to take complaints from the citizens. And guess what? If your one complaint doesn't change it, if everybody starts to do it, and it's the same officer, change is going to happen. So you have to be patient through the process, because otherwise, reacting on the street, going off, it's only going to cost you before it costs the police officer. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But that may be in my new ebook. I wouldn't do that if I were you. It is available on my website, judgedawson.com. Any other questions or any comments?
For the last one, I guess this says, I did 2 years on something that is now legal, changes my whole life. Do I have a civil?
Wow, great question. You may not have a civil case, right? But you have a strong argument for expungement or even sealing the record, so that it goes away and it's no longer, holding you back, or maybe even an official pardon from your governor. So you have a case for that. And you have a talking point. You know what I mean? The fact that what they thought you did was so minor, though it changed your life, look at it now, it's legal. So not only is it a talking point, but now it gives you a platform to talk about how this legal system can sometimes be unfair. I mean, think about it. If I'm just taking you at your word, how unfair is it that yesterday you jaywalked and today jaywalking is legal? You know what I mean? So now you can teach other people how to navigate this legal system. That may not be the answer you want to hear, but that is something that you can use to transform your life and transform the lives of others.
Yeah, and transform the energy around what happened.
Exactly.
Right?
Change that energy.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, these are going to be called transformation talks when you get with Judge Dawson and Mrs. Tierra Banks.
Yes.
Anything else there that we want to talk about? I know
No.
we got to go. You got to work. I got to work.
Yes. Back to work we go.
All right. So thank you for joining us. Follow us on on our social media platforms at Judge Dawson and
I am Tierra Banks.
all right. Take care. Be blessed.
See you later.